Imagine walking down the street minding your own business when out of nowhere a lottery ticket flies into your face. That's exactly what happened to Vincent Roberts. Now, who is Vincent Roberts, you ask? Well, he's a man whose life was as unassuming as any other. A humble man, he was known for his big heart and pure intentions, a soul that bore no ill will towards anyone. Born and raised in a small town, Vincent was a man of simple means. His days were spent working hard to make ends meet, and his nights were filled with dreams of a better life. His heart was pure, untainted by the harshness of the world around him. A beacon of hope and kindness, Vincent was a testament to the simple truth that goodness exists in the most ordinary of places. One day, as he was walking down the street, an unexpected windfall came his way. Quite literally at that. A piece of paper, carried by the wind, landed on his face. When he pulled it off and examined it, he discovered it was a lottery ticket. Brushing it off as a quirk of fate, he pocketed the ticket, oblivious to the fact that his life was about to take a dramatic turn. Days passed, and the lottery draw was announced. Lo and behold, the ticket Vincent had found was the winning ticket. A whopping $100 million. The news hit Vincent like a bolt from the blue. He was ecstatic, of course, but he was also overwhelmed. This sudden windfall was beyond his wildest dreams, an unimaginable turn of events. Yet, as he held that winning ticket in his hands, he had no idea how this stroke of fortune would change him. He was oblivious to the transformation that awaited him, the darkness that this sudden wealth would cast over his once pure heart. Little did Vincent know how this small piece of paper would alter the course of his life. The stage was set for a tale of riches, ego, downfall, and a hard-earned lesson about the true value of wealth. In an instant, Vincent's life transformed from living paycheck to paycheck to having more money than he could ever imagine. $100 million, a sum so vast it would make anyone's head spin. For Vincent Roberts, a man who had known nothing but the bitter struggle of poverty, it was a dream come true. A lottery ticket, a gift from the heavens, had turned his life around. You see, Vincent was no stranger to hardship. Born and raised in the fringes of society, every day was a fight for survival. But despite his circumstances, Vincent was a man of pure conscience. He was kind-hearted and always wished well for others. He was content with his humble life and never harbored ill intentions. But this windfall, it was like a magic wand that transformed everything. He went from wearing tattered clothes to donning designer suits. From living in a cramped apartment to owning a mansion that was the envy of all. He had cars that glistened under the sun, and a bank balance that would make anyone's eyes pop. In the early days, the joy was palpable. Vincent was like a child in a candy store, awestruck and overjoyed. He couldn't believe his luck. He was a millionaire, and the world was at his feet. But as he reveled in his newfound wealth, a subtle change began to creep into Vincent. The man who once had a heart of gold was slowly being seduced by his fortune. The glitz and glamour started to cast a shadow over his pure conscience. His humility was replaced with arrogance, his kindness with contempt, and his good intentions with a lust for power. He was no longer the Vincent Roberts everyone knew and loved. He was a different man, a man drunk on his wealth and power. His rise to riches was swift, but as he basked in the glory of his wealth, he forgot who he once was and where he came from. But as the saying goes, money is a good servant but a bad master. And Vincent was about to learn this the hard way. With his newfound wealth, Vincent started to change, and not for the better. As the zeros in his bank account multiplied, so did the layers of Vincent's ego. The humble man, once known for his pure conscience and goodwill, began to morph into a figure unrecognizable to those who knew him. The transformation wasn't overnight, but rather a slow, creeping change that was as subtle as it was destructive. The wealth he had stumbled upon, quite literally, began to taint his once pure conscience. The man who would share his last morsel of bread with a stranger was now a man who wouldn't spare a dime for those in need. His interactions, once filled with warmth and sincerity, now reeked of arrogance and disdain. Vincent, the man who had once been one with the crowd, now saw himself standing high above everyone else. A sense of superiority washed over him, blinding him to the reality of his transformation. The man who had once valued people over pennies was now valuing pennies over people. His friends, his family, the people who had been with him during his days of struggle, began to feel the cold change in his demeanor. Conversations with Vincent were no longer about dreams and aspirations, but about assets and acquisitions. His focus shifted from living a fulfilling life to leading a luxurious one. The community that had once respected him for his humility now whispered about his haughtiness. People who had once admired him were now wary of his presence. Yet Vincent was oblivious to it all. The intoxication of wealth had made him deaf to the whispers and blind to the changes within himself. He started losing touch with his roots, forgetting the man he was before the lottery ticket fell into his life. The humble beginnings that had shaped him were now just faded memories, overshadowed by his opulent present. Vincent was losing himself in the labyrinth of wealth and power. His actions, once guided by his pure conscience, were now dictated by his inflated ego. It was clear that Vincent was spiraling down a path of self-destruction, and the worst part was, he didn't even know it. Just as quickly as fortune had smiled upon Vincent, it began to frown. Our tale now takes a somber turn as we delve into Vincent's downfall. It's often said that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Vincent, unfortunately, was no exception. The once humble and kind-hearted man was now a shadow of his former self, tainted by the intoxicating allure of wealth. Vincent's life had become a whirlwind of reckless decisions. His ego had inflated to such an extent that he began to disregard the feelings and well-being of those around him. He started engaging in unscrupulous dealings, his actions guided solely by greed and a desire for more power. The people who once admired and respected Vincent now watched in dismay as he spiraled downwards. His relationships crumbled, his reputation tarnished. The man who was once a beacon of hope in his community was now a symbol of unchecked ambition and greed. The universe has a way of restoring balance, and so it did with Vincent. His reckless decisions soon led to his ruin. Investments gone wrong, trust broken, and alliances severed, Vincent's fortune began to dwindle. The very wealth that had brought him power was now slipping through his fingers like sand. His downfall was as swift as his ascent. But unlike his ascent, his descent was marked by the loss of more than just money. He lost friends, respect, and most importantly, he lost himself. The man who had once found joy in the simplest of things was now consumed by regret and despair. In the end, Vincent found himself right back where he started, but with a heavier heart and a tainted soul. His tale serves as a stark reminder that wealth and power are fleeting, and it's the purity of one's soul and the strength of one's character that truly define them. As we move towards the conclusion of Vincent's story, let's reflect on the lessons his life offers us and remember, it is not wealth that makes a man, but his actions and his intentions. Vincent's story serves as a poignant reminder for all of us. In his tale, we see a man who had nothing, gained everything, and then lost it all. Not because of some cruel twist of fate, but because he lost sight of who he was. Vincent forgot the man he used to be, the one who had a pure heart and good intentions. His newfound wealth didn't change his circumstances alone, but it also altered the essence of his character, and that was his downfall. Vincent's journey is a stark reminder that our actions, our choices, are a reflection of who we are. It's not the wealth or the power that corrupts, but our reaction to it. The money didn't make Vincent evil, it merely exposed a part of him that he didn't manage well. It was Vincent who chose to let his ego grow, Vincent who decided to hurt those around him, Vincent who forgot his roots. The moral of Vincent's story is not a warning against wealth or luck, but a lesson on the importance of staying true to oneself. Vincent's downfall wasn't the lottery win, it was forgetting the man he was before the windfall. He let his fortune define him, and in doing so, he lost himself. He lost his conscience, his kindness, and ultimately, his fortune. We often believe that wealth and power can solve all our problems, but Vincent's story shows us that it's not that simple. Money can change our circumstances, but it can't change who we are at our core. It's our actions, our intentions, that truly define us. And when those are tainted with ill will, no amount of money can save us from our downfall. Remember, it's not wealth or power that defines us, but our actions and intentions. And if you've enjoyed this tale, give this video a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like these.